Welcome to the Dynasty Brothers podcast. We are back. Ben, my brother. I was a little nervous. I didn't know if we were going to actually do this again. I tried to retire due to time restraints, my life being a little chaotic. Then I just realized, you know what? That's fucking stupid. I got to find time for this shit. We're almost to the start of football, man. It's good to see you. How are you?
You too. If we learned anything from our boy Argo/Roman, it's you can quit something and come right back again. Full steam, full strength, no harm, no foul. And that's what we're doing here today. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Right off the bat, laying into Argo.
Yeah, here we go.
Just like old times. So just to give the fellas a little taste of what we're hoping to do and accomplish, we're going to kind of try to keep this a little bit more simple and a little bit more regimented, even though we'll fall off the rails plenty of times, I'm sure. Our goal is to kind of do a weekly podcast prior to Thursday night's game, kind of keep it set and just, handle a couple different segments each week, not get overly complicated. Ben's not going to chew his ice while we're recording because that would be awful for the viewers to hear.
I'm so glad you got to hear that.
Yeah. And I would commit suicide if that were to continue.
I did, especially for you, Corey, because I know
Yeah.
how much you can't stand when people chew their eyes. It
So,
won't happen again.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to do probably an hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes you might be having a little bit of fun. Maybe we'll have a couple of cocktails every once in a while and we'll get loose. But there probably won't be any shining asshole stars or any really crazy events going on for my part. Going to keep it a little bit more PG-13, even though we're going to be nasty as we always are. So,
It's fair.
are you excited for tomorrow's game, even though you're a Kelsey owner?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly that's all we need to talk about. If you're excited for football, unless you're a Kelsey owner, and then you're just going to be like, am I really just going to be staring at news for like an entire day, wondering if my lineup is totally destroyed? Luckily, I only paid $420 for him, so
Yeah, cheap. Well, you get about that many points. I'll take it a step further. I have been like just trying to go to bed early at like 7 o'clock, and then I've been trying to take at least a 2 hour nap for like the last 3 days, and I've had legit anxiety because I'm so excited for tomorrow's game. There's so many things to look forward to. I don't know. I mean, that is just a weird feeling as a grown adult. Like you're just so excited for something that nobody else in my family is aware of it. My wife doesn't know, but it's like I cannot fucking wait for tomorrow. I probably won't get anything accomplished the whole entire day. Just
Corey,
because,
I agree with you that we have this sickness that is fantasy football, and it feels like we should have to explain ourselves. But I'll say, as long as Taylor Swift is alive, we don't have to explain a goddamn thing, because people are
that's a
paying
good point.
$2,000 for tickets to go see a concert in 2024. I
Yeah,
I think we're okay.
and that's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, I just it's just I don't know. It's just something about it. Like every week is kind of regimented now. Like I have Thursday night football. I have Friday. My son's playing varsity football at a very high level, which is super cool. I get to
Yeah,
go
but
to
that's
Friday night
awesome.
lights games. Saturday I do the family shit, and then I get up at 6:30 and do as many domestic chores as I possibly can do, make breakfast for everybody before they even get up. By 9:30, I'm ready to sit down on my couch and enjoy 16, 17 hours of football, at least the first week.
So
We'll
is watching your son play football, especially as a defensive player, where he's just pinning people in the back and wrecking them, uh, more satisfying than you think it would have been if he was playing basketball?
um, I that's a tough question. I actually was painful me watching him play basketball, so I'm glad that he's not playing basketball.
Fair enough.
uh,
I just
he's
mean, as a father, how I think you felt like maybe it was going that direction, kind of envisioned it, but he's
yeah,
so good at football, he's got to
yeah. I
roll with
think
it, right?
at this level too, like he's playing, major high school football in California, right? Like I think most kids are playing one or two, maybe, sports in high school. He runs track as well, but I think just watching him play football, because I love football so much, and watching him narrow in on just being, he just wanted to be a safety and a cornerback. He didn't want to play offense, and he loves it. He loves
I
hitting
can
people.
relate.
Yeah, he just balls out, like, and he has no fear. And I think it fits perfectly to his style because, technically he grew up in Costa Rica and didn't have some of the availability of the sports until, 10 or 11. And so I think from like a basketball standpoint or a skilled sports standpoint, he didn't really, get to develop those early enough. And then we were out here in California, and it's like those kids are already playing basketball by the time they're 4 or 5 years old, and like advanced by the time they're 10 or 11. So football just worked for him, and it's awesome. He has a real chance to play, mid Division I football, which would, for me, I just love going to the games and being there as a dad. There's nothing better at all.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of what
pretty
I was
awesome
referring
experience for
to.
sure.
So that's
I'm
cool.
hoping that I get to draft him someday. Maybe he's like a little mini
Hey,
Blankenship if he grows another 2 inches, and put 30 more pounds on. We might have a little read action. Did you freeze up, Ben?
a little bit. It might be coming on my end. I see you froze, but I think we're gonna be
Are
good.
you there?
Uh-oh. Oh, we lost each other.
Big time.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
I can now. That's all right. Yep, I got you.
All right.
As long as I know you're going to come back in, I'll just keep shooting my shot. Sorry, gents. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties because Ben's in fucking bumfuck Egypt and
In
Costa Rica. So might have to
We'll
deal
have
with
it
a little bit of
solved.
internet.
We'll have it solved, but yeah, we'll get through it.
Anyway, yeah. So other than that, I'm just looking forward to Thursday. Justin Ross, I got an anytime touchdown bet with our boy Mighty Orphans. We put 100 on that to win 450. I think it's a strong possibility. He's just a package player and a bump, but it's exciting. It's exciting to have football back. I'm excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs play. I have a lot of stocks in him, and excited to see what they do and how to utilize him. I hope Kelsey plays for your sake. I really do. I think it's fun watching him and Mahomes operate, and it'll be a hell of a game regardless. And yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's I think the Lions are going to win. I do. I don't know why.
I think the Lions are going to win, and then they're going to miss the playoffs. But that's for another story. I do think Kelsey's going to play, even if it's limited, because maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, if you can't walk, you can't walk. But the Kelsey brothers have this crazy streak. Like they've started since like 2000, like 10 years or something. So I would imagine if he can walk out of bed, he will get on the field, which will kind of suck because you just won't know. Like he could do like 5 plays, as a distraction and just be like, okay, sorry guys.
Well, they classified it as a deep bone bruise too, so I don't think you can make that any worse. It's just a pain tolerance thing, and it's probably
a needle.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any for him. Like, there's no reason for him to play. They don't care if they win the first game or second. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't risk it, but again, if it's just a bone bruise,
if that streak matters to him, then they'll just have to let him decide, right?
He plays, but I doubt he can be more than 65-70%. So maybe a distraction and use him as a little bit of a, what do you call it? I can't think of my word. What's the fucking word? What? Not distraction, as someone that's not a guinea pig.
Decoy.
Whatever. A decoy. Fuck. God, we're rusty. That was awful.
It's all right.
That was awful. Get it together, Sal. What are you looking forward to about the game? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot. I have some notes about this later, but there's a lot of interesting things going on, specifically with their newly acquired high-profile draft picks. Like Campbell isn't listed as a starter, which was surprising, but neither is Rodriguez, and Laporta's not either. And I remember last year, their listed starters with Campbell were the starters. So I don't know if I want to read into a ton of that. I wouldn't panic as a Jack Campbell or a Laporta owner, but I mean, they're definitely more talented than the dudes in front of them. So it's just maybe it's how much they know the offense, what they're comfortable with them handling in this first run. So I kind of want to see what kind of usage these guys have, because you start to go around and look at it, and even their defensive ends too. Like, I mean, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, I don't think we know. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, James Houston, I've seen starting. I've seen Kaminsky starting. I've seen, like they're all starting. You don't know what their rotation is going to look like. You don't know how many linebackers are going to use. I think that's the one thing that we're going to have to be conscientious about. Like, for if you play IDP, is you got to watch like right away what these teams trend in. Like like some we'll get into this later, but some have surprises on like what they list there, but like you don't see the 3-4-4-3 commonly listed. It's like very
Mm-hmm.
random, and you don't know until you see how many snaps each player is playing, what's going on. So I think the Kansas City defense is pretty straightforward. I mean, if Chris Jones doesn't play, there'll be something, I guess, there, but the Detroit defense, when their depth chart came out, it was like, oh, okay, so they're what? Okay, they're gonna play all these guys. Okay, let's see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I think the first depth chart for any team of the season it means jack shit. I don't think I think a lot of it is, they give the more experienced players, the veterans, the recognition of being there and tenured, and then after this week, you'll exactly like you said, you'll see who plays. There's no chance that Laporta plays less than 80% of the snaps. Nothing that has been talked about him, throughout the preseason has been him not being with the ones all the time and almost in every possession. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
Campbell
you say that, but Brock Wright was like incredibly effective after they traded Hawkinson. So like it's an assumption we're making, but like
Mhm.
the fact of the matter is, like, most coaches, like a lot of coaches, don't like putting rookies on the field right away. So
Yeah,
it's like I 80% for Laporta by the end of the season. I think that's good. If you think he's playing 80% tomorrow, there's no way. I'll bet on that under all day. I just don't know if anyone is gonna, like. I think it's
yeah,
they gotta like let it play out, unless they were really panicking because they're short, because Jameson Williams is out there, and you see like Brock Wright in there, 68%, and then Laporta gets to 80, and they're just doing that much two tight end sets, but they're pretty deep on wide receiver. So I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying, and I agree with you. Almost always they're going to put the veterans in front, just
yeah.
because they've been there, they know, they've been on the team longer. But I think on the flip, what it's always nice to see is when they put rookies ahead. That's what you want to see, right? Because if they're like, screw the vets, I'm putting a rookie in this position, it's green light, right? And then
Yeah.
until that happens, it's either smoke and mirrors, and you got to wait and see. It's just a little bit less confidence. Like I would have never told somebody not to start Jack Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Ever, until like I saw that, and I'm like, fuck, what if he plays 65% snaps because they're like working him in? It's like, maybe you do start another guy if you have one. You
Well, I'll
know,
tell you this: if the only team or the only place that Brock Wright's listed as the starting defensive end is the Detroit Lions website. Everybody else doesn't believe that. So everybody else has Sam Laporta listed. So
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
everyone else isn't fucking the coach.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I hear you. I think it just goes back to it's just a tenure thing and a seniority thing more
Well,
so than
Corey,
switching the play.
you're
But
taking
we'll
it a
see.
little sensitive because you have a lot of Laporta shares, and you don't
I
want
have
to
a
believe
couple.
it's happening. But I'll tell you what, at the end of this pod, when I tell you like some of these things that happen in these depth charts, you're gonna have to listen, man. You got to pay attention to that stuff.
All right, we'll see. And like I said, I'm more sensitive because Justin Ross is listed on like this as the seventh receiver, and I guarantee by the end of the season he will not be the seventh receiver
Okay,
on
that's
that team.
fine. You
But
just spoiled
there,
my
it's
segment. He is number 7. That's right, everybody. He's 7th. He's the 7th
okay. We'll see.
receiver
We'll
listed
see.
by
I don't even
Andy
want,
Reid.
I don't even want to talk about it. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to a different topic. We're excited about the game. What's the prediction? What's your final score for tomorrow's game, Ben?
If Kelsey plays like he gets a touchdown and like 6 catches for 80 yards, right? If he's enough to be a decoy, I would take them. I'm not trying to say if or and, but I think it's going to be like a 38-35 Detroit game. I think it's going to lay out. I
The
just think if
the
they don't have Chris Jones, they're just going to just run Montgomery and Gibbs up the ass. And they like we joked
yeah.
about that. I think Chris Jones. I know he's not as valuable as Mahomes. I guess what we could probably say is he as valuable as Kelsey probably would have been the better comp. But like, I just that defense doesn't. It's not talented. It doesn't work without Chris Jones fucking the middle up.
I just
He's
don't think it needs to. I think somehow, some way, the Kansas City Chiefs can figure out a way to score more points. But the spread only moved two points because of Kelsey. So Vegas is saying that he was worth two points, went from 6.5 to 4.5. I'd say he's worth more than that. But I would say, as of right now, that the Lions are going to win by 3 points. I think it'll be a field goal
That's what
game.
I said. I just gave
Yeah.
the
So
exact score. But I like
I
that.
think
That's fine.
30, 27, somewhere around in there. I think the spreads, the over under is like 54, somewhere around there. So maybe 57 total. So
Ooh,
I think it'll be high scoring. I don't
I
think
went
either.
pretty over.
I don't think Kansas City. Yeah. Yeah. You went high, but that's okay. I hope it for both of our sakes, there's that many points. Um, Okay, let's move on to something else. Let's talk about the preseason darlings, guys that you felt on defense that were the most talked about at camp that really shined, whether they be rookies or guys that maybe weren't on everybody's radar. You got the defense, and I'll just kind of fill in with a little bit of color.
Yeah, I'm not going to get super cute here because otherwise we get into like too many semantics that probably don't matter, you know?
Yep.
Like there's so many guys I could talk about that got their way onto a roster and probably gonna get playing time pretty soon, but that stuff's not here or there unless we wanted to spend hours and hours. So I'll start with I'll start with my homer pick, which was like Ivan Pace Jr. was getting so much hype through training camp, and I'm a Vikings fan, but I listen to the beats, and it was every day he was doing things. But I think what was really big that happened was Asamoah was hurt, and so because Asamoah needed preseason reps, right? If he was healthy, he needed the reps because he's new at it. So what happened was they gave the green dot to Ivan Pace on both of the games, put him in there for the whole time. He's 100% snap guy with that first defense. Now, granted, Hicks is basically veteran, so he's not playing a ton. But I thought that was pretty crazy because not only did he do it, he made some splash plays. I don't think his PFF grade was like something we're gonna lose our minds over, but I think he proved enough to where he's not only gonna play, but like people were wondering whether or not he's taken the starting job from Asamoah. I think they're going to play all three, and I don't think anyone's getting 100% snaps, and it'll probably vary a lot on game script. But the most promising sign for him was the third game when we played all backups. He didn't play a snap. So he was so important for our rotation on what we're planning to do that they didn't want to risk getting him hurt. So that told me he did it. Like you're not just making a roster, you're making like rotation playing time. At worst, he's probably 40%. At best, he's probably 65. I don't think he'll get to 100 in his rookie year. I don't think Asamoah will either. If anyone's going to get 100, it would be Hicks. But because they're trying to train multiple people to take that green dot, I think they don't want linebackers to always be in there. That's for another segment when we get into the Vikings, but um, I thought that was awesome. I think like, man, the Jets. I remember watching the Jets and Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald got all the run with the starting defensive units because the other guys they just didn't need them or whatever, and those guys need reps, right? And they looked really good. Like both of them look awesome. And it's crazy, but I don't know how much they're going to play because they're both incredibly good on super deep Jets team. But I would bank both those guys are going to be they're going to be problems in the rotation. They'll probably both get like if they get run throughout the year, they'll probably both get like 5 to 6 sacks like randomly. You won't be able to predict it, but I think by next year, those are two guys I'd really check out. And then Jack Gibbons, man, for Tennessee. I know he was in a big toss up with that. I know Rice kind of was a favorite going in and he's just balled out the whole preseason training camp and he won himself that second job that I think it's going to be pretty profitable for IDP, so I thought that was a good one. And then she's like, I think I don't want to say this because this is just all, this is just for Argo, but god damn it, like all the guys they drafted worked out. Like Nolan Smith looks like he can't be stopped. Like they all look
Yeah.
they're not even gonna play that much, and they're just like, hey, guess what? We're next. They're just completely laughing at these offenses that they were playing and just wreaking havoc. So I think like, you look at how deep that Eagles D line is and the Jets D line. I mean, they are a couple of the best defenses in the NFL, but I think they got some real talent going behind them. I think I'll stop there so we can get to yours. And
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think well, the Jets storyline in general is going to be interesting, right? I think just because of Hard Knocks and Rodgers being there and kind of the hype that is around them is just going to be it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. I think specifically how that plays out versus the Packers, right? Like the Packers are supposed to be taking a huge step back, but I think they have just as legitimate shot to win the NFC North as any other team in that division. Jordan Love's looked confident, and I don't think they've gotten worse on defense or offense. And I don't think that Rodgers played very good last year. So I'm excited to see what that storyline and how that unfolds. Who will have more wins? I bet the under on the Jets 9.5. I don't think they'll get 10 wins this year. We'll see. So that's one of the things I'm interested. I took a different approach on this. I just kind of talked a little bit more about storylines and things that kind of jumped out at me. I think the Saints backfield is really interesting.
yeah,
With Miller being hurt a couple times already in preseason, Kamara with his 3 games, Jamal being there. I just don't know who's going to get touches there. I mean, they don't even have a backup running back right now. So who's going to kind of elevate and take over that role could be profitable for someone. Condre Miller, I mean, has every chance, but he just can't stay on the field in the preseason. So I thought that was interesting. Jameson Williams, I mean, I invested so heavily in him in all of our leagues. It's just been so disappointing, right from the start with the gambling thing. Probably a stupid mistake. I'm from Iowa, and watching how that's unfolded for Iowa State. Obviously, people are just don't think that it's going to affect them. So it kind of started bad there, and then the injuries and the drops and everything else. Like it's just you start to worry at some point. I sold a couple shares. I feel like I got top value in other leagues, and we won't talk about that, but I'm still holding on one share because I can't get anything in return for him now. So I think, will he come back and have a role and be as explosive as everybody talked about him being, or is he just one of those receivers that just can't find his way? I thought that's interesting. 49ers QB situation. Everybody's riding Brock Purdy's jock, and I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be the guy. I think he's gonna, he's gonna be exposed after these games. People are gonna figure out what to do against him defensively, and I just think that they're gonna struggle all year at the quarterback position. So I think that's gonna be a roller coaster ride, and it's gonna be pretty important, pretty pivotal because the 49ers are a serious playoff contention team everywhere else. They're all in on this next year or two, and Kittle being hurt already and struggling with injury, like Purdy, like I just don't trust him for shit. So we'll see how that ends up. Kyle Pitts, I don't know, man. Something seems off there too. I mean, they listed Jonnu as the co-starter. He just has looked a little bit sluggish.
Well, hold on. They listed him as a co-starter because they were in two tight end sets.
Oh, okay. All
That's
right.
why it's not like he's sharing with John Chu. It's like we're playing both and running two wide receivers. That's what they came
That's
out
fair.
and said.
And I just the reports that I've seen is that he just looks a bit slow and sluggish. I hope he finally puts it together, and I don't think it can be complete quarterback play at this point. Like he had a good rookie season, but I think the expectations for him coming in was just so high that anything less than 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns is a disappointing season, right? So I have no shares of him. I'm just curious to see how his career keeps
But his
unfolding.
ADP is super down to reflect that. Even last year, people were still super high on him.
Yep.
And tight ends take a
As
long
you should
time,
be.
man. Nobody ever wants to fucking tell themselves that, but there's so few tight ends who come out and just really produce consistently in the first 3 years of their career.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that's, one of the things to watch this year, how will Kincaid and Laporta and some of the, Musgrave, how are they performed? There was a lot of capital put into those players again this year. And we've changed a little bit as a league. Like people are investing in tight end and understanding that it's kind of in a pivotal position because you have, one slot or two slots there that you can score up some, make up some points on people. So that's shifted a little bit from when I
yeah.
first started in the league. And so it'll be interesting how that unfolds.
But there's more
Yep.
wide receiver style tight ends. That's
Yeah.
what everyone's trying to invest in. I heard
Yeah.
the argument of like Kelsey being underpaid because he's actually a wide receiver. And you think about that and you're like, well, I looked at that Hawkinson deal and I'm like, well, he's kind of a wide receiver too. Like they're good wide receivers. They get open, they get separation, they're tall, they're big. I think that's the whole thing with Pitts was just he was prototyped, but like Waller, a lot of these guys are like that.
Yeah, I like Waller's an interesting one this year too. The way he played in that last preseason game, I mean, it was just like, Jesus Christ, he's going to get 120 targets this year.
He's a
If he
wide
stays.
receiver convert, from back in the day. So I think honestly, Waller, when he's healthy, he's just gonna always be good.
Yeah,
He's really good. They, it was funny, but as a wide receiver, when they're trying to limit him to like being this possession guy, don't work. They put him in you put him in that tight end where he can get up in the middle of the field and get mismatches, and now it's like, okay, this is it. So he's
yeah. The other couple things I had was just two different backfields. I'm a Bears fan, so it's just kind of I'm curious. Everybody just keeps talking about Roshan. I think I think Herbert has every opportunity. Herbert's been a damn good back for the Bears. So maybe he's a little bit limited on, passing downs and his pass protection. We'll see. I mean, I think people improve in those areas. He seems, so I think he has every opportunity to, have the first 6 games, get off to a hot start and do well. And then maybe Roshan spills him. I don't think Foreman's going to be a valuable piece for them. And I think he's just more insurance than anything. But that's an interesting backfield. There's a lot at stake there for people that have drafted
I hope you're
Roshan.
right with Herbert. I mean, in general, like it was always confusing to me. It was like, okay, Foreman, they got to be done, and then they pick another guy. And I know it's committee, but I mean, it's just like, why don't you just keep Montgomery and do the same thing? And I think they want Herbert to tote the rock the most, and
Yeah.
probably just hedging bets with having running back depth is just protocol these days. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like, we could come out, like you said, like first 6 games, we could be like, oh, Herbert's top 5. And it would be like, probably should have seen that coming based off of him
Right.
kicking out Montgomery because he was better and more
Well, yeah.
efficient, and they're different types of, but like, man, he's good. And I agree with you. He's really hard to value. It's really hard to know what it's like. I think he's going to be a guy where if he's okay, his value will be the same as he is right now somehow.
Yeah.
But if he's really good, then you'll have like a high value chip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that often, but it's like almost everyone's expecting him to be in a timeshare and be average. It's where his ADP is. It's where I see people value him in Dynasty. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
whole.
I moved him and I picked him up. Like in BC, he's not worth moving. Like because you're not going to get a mid first round pick for him,
Oh,
and it's like why would I move him? I could draft him in 2-6. Like if he scores 150 points again, like great. Like he's already paid 3 times over. I just think in general, well, he was cheaper. Montgomery was 6 million I think on the open market, and Foreman was like 1 or 2, so they saved 4 million just to have another banger. And Herbert did everything that Montgomery could do last year, and probably in some capacities did it better. So I think that was an easy move on. And then you redraft and load up on another running back that you get 3 or 4 cheap years out of, and you have a cheap quarterback, and you can invest. I mean, Bears had plenty of money, so there was no reason if they really felt Montgomery was a key to their success, they would have kept him. I think so. It'll be interesting. I just think in general, you're not going to find too many teams that don't have 2 or 3 running backs and they're not super cheap, and that whole running back market's just changed. Unless you're a Christian McCaffrey or an Eckler that can catch the ball and run the ball and be a versatile wide receiver and do multiple things, like you're just going to have a 5-6 year career and not get paid very much money.
I think I think the whole thing that in the carousel that's most interesting, and to your point with Montgomery, it's like the Bears have the money. They could have just kept Montgomery and not done
Yeah.
Foreman. But I think what happens is you have to find ways to make sure that you're putting running backs in your room who aren't disgruntled, right?
Yeah.
So like it's weird to say, but like there's almost going to be a no loyalty program with running backs because it's like with us, it's like we would have probably paid Cook more money than he got. I mean, he got it pretty good, but like that was the pay cut we were offering him. But the problem
Yeah.
is he takes a pay cut and then he thinks he's undervalued and then he's got nothing to prove. And
He's got a
then
1 year
where are
deal.
you sitting at? And then so it's like, okay, you just, if in a running back position with this market, and now it's going to be way different, right? Because I think people aren't going to get paid. And so maybe you'll start to see a little more deals with loyalty and longer deals being made. I think this is short term. You won't see maxes, but I think you'll start to see like, oh, we want to lock our guy in, but now we can do it at a fair price, right? Because again, like if you have an old guy and a new guy looks better, if you keep the old guy around and his role goes down, how do you know he's going to be motivated? How do you know he's going to be okay with it? It's like, well, screw it, cut him, boom, grab another. And this is exactly why the running back market doesn't matter, because the consistency doesn't matter as much as the motivation and as the dedication to the position. So they're like, okay, this guy out of practice squad is hungry. I'd rather have him.
The only people that are going to get paid are the ones that are versatile, so they're positionless, right? They can move them like a Debo or Matt McCaffrey or a Gibbs, and well, I'm hoping Gibbs or even Kamara back in the last few years. Like they can move them at wide receiver, and then they can keep them in on third down. They can run the ball with them in between the tackles. Like however they want to utilize them, he's a weapon, right? And I think those guys will get paid top dollars, and everybody else will just get their standard one deal and be done.
Honestly, I mean, McCaffrey's getting cut by the 49ers next year. They can't afford him. Like I don't think those deals are ever happening again. I just don't think they are.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever get to see with all certainty that somebody can be that good. Like unless they're.
But you can't throw the ball to McCaffrey 115 times and not pay him like a wide receiver, and then have him run it 250 times.
Yeah,
right?
but like McCaffrey needs to just turn his fucking position to wide receiver and be the best slot receiver in the game. That's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's weird, but the evolution.
West Welker light, yeah,
yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone's going to ever get paid at the running back position again until
really unique.
until it gets until like you said the tier gets set where it's like everyone's getting incentivized by how many catches plus rushing yards they get or
Well,
something.
who started this was Jimmy Graham, right? Wasn't he the original person that's like, I'm not a tight end, I'm a wide receiver, and like that's
Yeah.
how he got, and he wanted to be paid, right? And
Mhm.
so I don't know. It'll be interesting. The other backfield was Najee and Jalen Warren. Like that, there's been a lot of talk about who was actually the lead back and who's going to win that. I think that's going to have a lot of fantasy implications this year, as if Warren really takes over more of a role and Najee starts to fade off into the sunset. I don't think it's going to as much. I think maybe this year Najee will be a little bit more motivated and they'll still pound the football, and Warren will be kind of that back that gets all the good downs where he's explosive on 3rd and 18 and gets a 16-yard draw and they still have to punt. And he comes in with fresh legs and does his thing. But
Yeah,
I mean, again,
it feels like a 65-35 situation.
yeah, I'd
Like
even say 60-40. Yeah. I mean, like, still,
I
I
mean
don't think there's
maybe.
going to be many positions where there's not going to be a 60-40 split. Like, there's not going to be very many 70-30 backs out there. I just don't think that that's the case anymore. Um, but those kind of storylines, I just think it does impact what we're doing and how we draft and how we invest in running backs moving forward, and like how we set lineups. If we can start 5 wide receivers, I'd rather have 1 running back and 5 wide receivers. And you couldn't. There's no way you could tell me differently at this point. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this year plays out. And then the last thing I'll say is just check some undervalued teams. I'm really interested to see what happens in Cleveland. I think they have a good football team. Whether or not Deshaun Watson can kind of get back to somewhat of form pre Towels will be interesting. I think they're undervalued. I think the Titans are undervalued. I think that Vrabel's a hell of a good coach, and they find ways to win ball games. And I think the Steelers 8.5 is just ridiculous. Fucking Tomlin can win with 8 games with this, with nobodies. So I'm interested in those 3 teams. I put a little bit of wager on all 3 of them. So that's it. That's all I had for kind of the preseason stuff that was kind of interesting to me. The next segment that we kind of wanted to talk about was the draft, kind of do a little bit of the recap on some of the draft capital that was invested and paid off by some of the GMs, and give them a little bit of credit. So do you want to take that one away, or do you want me to go first?
Well, why don't you go first? Let me get this screen share going. Make sure
Okay,
we're
cool.
all ready to rock. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then I got a pretty decent list, a few from each round, and I left off a lot of Georgia's picks just because he's annoying the shit out of me right now with all of his value that he thinks he has. But
we'll
it's all
get into
good.
that.
Yeah, we'll have some point to let Georgia come on here and defend himself, but we're not going to let him on here quickly. That's for sure.
Well, we have
We're
to
not.
destroy him, and then he can defend himself. All right.
He needs to prove that he can handle himself in chat for a while before we get him on the pod. But we love you, Georgia, in more ways than one. So I thought actually what was interesting, the first few picks, I mean, I don't think that there's been any indication that anybody has really struck out or hit, to be perfectly honest with you. I think, there's a lot of time will tell kind of here. I think 1 and 2 obviously are just slam dunks, number 3 as well. I don't want to go through all the list. Say Flowers, I think probably could have been taken higher based off of how he's performed. That I don't have 0 shares of him, and he's fucking exciting as all hell. I thought the Tajay Spears, I invested in all 3 other leagues other than this one. I couldn't get up to get him. I think he's probably, to me, the most exciting one in the top 16, just because of how he's looked in the preseason. And then with Derrick Henry and their situation there, I could see him being the lead dog next year, and that's fucking payday as a Titan. And then Marvin Mims all the way down at 123. He fell in a lot of drafts. I just think that's hella good value for him. The only real misses so far, I think, in those top 20, 25 picks is the linebacker Sanders, and it's still too early to call on that, but the reports haven't been necessarily great. And then everybody else is kind of, time will tell. I think everybody kind of fell. Michael Meyer, we'll see where he ends up, and like that might take a couple years for him to produce. But um, the other one is Tank Dell at 131. I think, his preseason was as good as anybody's. He's been super explosive. He seems to be a dog. I think that's payday for Vito. And there's a lot of young guys in the Houston receiving room. So we'll see who kind of separates. Oh, well, except for Robert Woods, right? There's a bunch of young guys in Robert Woods. And so I think that one's interesting to watch. And then I jumped down to Puka Nakua. He's kind of been a preseason darling as well. They're talking him up in Los Angeles. He was at 212, so I think that's a pretty good payday there in the second round as of right now. I have Trey Palmer at 3-1. I mean, when you get into the third round, I mean, we're digging deep. You're taking chance at wide receivers that a lot of times just don't make it, and he's kind of excelled in Tampa Bay. And you know what? I think they'll probably be moving on from Evans. They don't really have anybody else there. There was an injury to what's his face. I think that was on Georgia's team. That's okay because Georgia has like 7. Yeah, Georgia has like 7 different awesome wide receivers, so it doesn't really matter.
He's so stacked, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then Deuce Vaughn at 3-4. I mean, that's been super exciting to watch. Like that's a great pick for
Corey.
Georgia.
I want to comment on the Trey Palmer hype.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Jalen Darden 2.0. And then whoever was drafted the year before. Every year, I feel like there is a rookie on Tampa Bay with their stacked room, and we just assume they're going to be good and assume they're going to be the heir, and it keeps not happening. So I want to pump a little bit of brakes on Trey Palmer. That's my
I think, and I mean, Raheem Jarrett was drafted 627, almost at the very end of the draft, and he has as good of a chance of making that.
Yeah, I agree.
Palmer. So, I mean, not making the team, but
making noise.
Being the guy, right? So, I think any of those receivers after there, again, we're looking at draft capital, and you don't know, but they should be considered wins because they're making noise and they made the team at that position. I think that's great. Deuce Vaughn is a win. I actually gave myself Marte Mapu credit at 314. He seems to be, he got moved from safety to linebacker, which was something that I gambled on and kind of was anticipating knowing that he kind of played both positions and was kind of a hybrid. So that worked out well for me. And
it was well played. That alone, Corey, without even the fact that he's looked good and in camp and that's kind of a stacked rotation. I know he looks buried on the depth chart. It might take a few weeks for it to work out, but he's so versatile and talented. And Belichick likes that as soon as Belichick feels like he's got to figure it out, he's just putting that guy in. And so it's like a double whammy home run. Like you got the safety value into a linebacker, and he might be like,
he fucking hits.
He's definitely top 5 in the linebacking class now, but I could see a world where he surpasses some of the guys ahead of where that top 5 is. But man, I mean, not to steal your thunder or get ahead of anything, but a kind of interesting defensive draft class, because the only player I would feel comfortable with 100% certainty, starting week 1, is Will Anderson. Yeah. And I think every single other guy, and this is blue chip, if we're going to talk about blue chip, start Campbell and start some of these other guys, right? But him and I don't know, Clancy maybe for Tampa Bay, who's a D tackle that's not as impactful, but I don't see a massive flow of random guys who were that guy's starting day 1. And usually when you take defensive players, especially in the first round, we talked about this, you take a player in the first round because he's so good, he's impactful out the gate. I think Jack Campbell will be, but I think everyone else after that, we don't know when their times come. Even your point on Drew Sanders, he got nicked up and stuff, but he had a great training camp. he didn't win jobs, so like I don't know. It's one of those things where like he could not.
There's a couple safeties, but D tackle safeties, cornerbacks. I mean, you can almost like you're not investing a ton of high capital. Like I think that they'll produce points early. The defensive ends, Will Anderson's the only one that like is evident that he's going to play pretty much every down. And then Van Ness, like I haven't heard anything about
No,
Van Ness.
Van Ness is only going to rotate because
Right,
Gary's on a snap count. But they
right.
have, dude. Like, no, I'm telling you, nobody. I went through these lists, and somebody can more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. But like all these guys that I thought would get their way, like BJ Ojolari is third on the depth chart on D end. It's like what? And he didn't make a lot of noise, and you're like on a shitty team. So it's just like it's crazy. Usually these guys pop and they come out, but it's like all the noise I've been seeing is out of undrafted guys, like which
Yeah.
we'll see actually probably more hit in the fourth, fifth, and sixth rounds than we're seeing early because these guys just aren't being put in starting roles yet. But it doesn't
Yep.
mean they're not going to be great later. It just means getting year one production, which we always like to get in the league this deep, right? It's just like, can I get some points this year, please?
Well, I mean, like here's a perfect question. Would you rather have Nick Herbig at 330 or Luke Van Ness at whatever he was drafted at 124? I mean, like
Well, Nick Herbert 100% undoubtedly will be moved to D tackle, just like because he's Cameron Hayward's backup. Like, more I look into that, he's probably playing behind Hayward. So, and Hayward's a DN, but he gets that DT designation. So, yes, but like until MFL just fucking does it to you slow and like, here you go, he's a DT.
he was lining up on the edge though, too.
I
Plenty of
know
time.
it's all about the designation though. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, that's one thing I noticed that probably I didn't look at. This is a total tangent, but I started looking at all the D tackles, and then you start seeing, and you're like, that guy's like a 4-3 D end, and he's at D tackle. Like that's a great value. But there's like so many D tackles that are actually D ends because they moved so many outside linebackers into D ends. It's what we
The,
always wanted until we didn't. Now it's like it sucks because there's no linebackers and
the
nobody's using linebackers.
the crazy thing about BC is you have to find points and it doesn't matter where they come from, And so if you can get 15 points out of the E tackle and it's $2, take it all day long. I wouldn't spend $115 on a defensive tackle, but that's not, that's just not a part of what I do. So we left off 318. I had Sean Tucker. He's making a lot of noise as possibly being the number 2 in Tampa Bay. I think that's
Oh,
an
he's the
interesting.
number 2. I was
Yeah.
going to get to this later, but now that you brought it up, we talk about depth charts. I mean, they had guys, they had real NFL players on there in competition, and he was listed as the number 2 yesterday.
Yep. No,
So,
it's
so if you're a
we have a
Sean
lot.
Tucker owner, it's time to do it's a couple victory laps. Like he's in position to be in that timeshare, which I didn't think he would get there with how many. I think Edmonds is there. Who else is there? Like I thought it was pretty full.
Edmonds is there and Rashad White. I think the Rashad White owners need to be very cautious moving forward as to how much they value or overvalue him as well. I don't think that he was amazing as a runner last year, and he looked okay because Brady was dumping down a shit ton of passes, but he wasn't extremely efficient. So I mean, these are the things you have to be extremely cautious about. Yeah, he was very productive and now he's the lead guy, but I mean, he could quickly see his role diminish to, 50-50 or even less. And like, there's no real clear path for that team moving forward. So I don't know. That's an interesting one to keep an eye on too. And then, so Nick Herbert, big, we already talked about 330. We already talked about Yvonne Pace at 414. I had Demario Douglas at 5'6", and then Raheem Jarrett at 627. I thought all those were the ones that just jumped out at me. I'm sure I missed a shit ton of them. But I tried to pick the guys that I thought that have outproduced where their expected value was, or not outproduced, but have outshined their expected value to this point. So we'll find
Yeah.
out very.
God, I mean, even everyone I want to get, it's like, okay, cool. Like here, it's like Chris Brooks, McLaughlin.
Yeah.
It's like they made rosters and you're
Oh,
getting them
Jaleel
in the first round.
McLaughlin
That's
for
great.
sure. I mean, that McLaughlin definitely.
He's
I
got the
mean,
third, so that was pretty good. We can't call it a hit. He just,
I
as
think
far as
so,
I'm
dude.
concerned, he hit a
Five
roster.
five eight at five
Yeah, it's
eight, when you
true.
hit on a guy in his rookie season making the fucking roster, that's a hit. I mean, that if he gets return yards or
This is
anything
a
like
great one right here. Ronnie Bell
Ronnie
coming
Bell
on.
too.
He looked.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't have him on because I was doing defense, but he looked really good in preseason, and I think there's a couple wide receivers that look really good. They got cut,
Well,
but
Danny Gray was hurt too, so I mean,
yeah.
Roman's boy Danny Gray. That might, it'll be interesting to see who kind of breaks through there.
But yeah, man, like we're going through all these, and like it's a lot of depth, which is kind of normal, but
Some
yeah.
definitely some folks that definitely won. I think
Well, this
before
looks
we
different at the end of the year. At the end of the
yeah
year, people get jobs. They get, but like, and we actually, I don't remember if we tried to analyze how many players improved from the draft until cuts last year.
no we
But
didn't.
yeah, my brain tells me there was way more relevant people than there are right now. And I don't think that means the draft class sucked. I think it just means it's like everyone's in waiting their turn, you know? So I think this will look really good. I mean, it was like guys like Gonzalez, and there's guys that are like they're not
But then I mean,
starting, but they're gonna be good.
yeah, some of these guys. I mean, but a lot of it is draft capital, right? Like, so we'll get into the Georgia thing where he's super excited because he has a bunch of hits and guys that made teams. First of all, a lot of those guys are on shit teams. And second of all, next year, it's quite possible that they're replaced or on a practice squad or not even in the league. Like, and so like you either pump them up and sell them and get whatever value or, higher draft picks you can next year for them if you don't think you're a contender. But this pipe dream that says that I don't even know who they are. So, like, if you're telling me that Atlanta wide receiver is somehow going to, be a fantasy producer next
You mean the
year,
one
then
listed seventh on the depth chart?
I, yeah, sure. Like, let's make bets all day on Justin Ross. Everybody keeps doubting that. And that's fine.
No, no,
I'm
no.
okay.
Actually, I'm talking about Georgia's wide
Oh,
receiver.
Ali or whatever his name. I don't
Yeah.
even. But I mean, I think he should be happy that his guys made the team. But I think there has to be realistic expectations about what that means and like what the actual value is. So I don't know. I think people become attached to stuff a little bit too quickly when things are going to change an awful lot before the end of the year and next year. So
We're about to find out real quick about Evan Hall.
yeah, yeah.
Because Jonathan Taylor's out, and I saw Zach Moss. I mean, he's looking bleak. If Zach Moss can't play, Evan Hull's the starter as a rookie. Like this one might be good. Precious Squeeze might have some
I could see
juice,
Kareem Hunt going to Indianapolis pretty quickly.
dude, or anyone.
Leonard
What
Fournette.
a weird, yeah, exactly. But like they don't want to because they're gonna probably just. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that's a weird team.
The Colts.
It's a weird team. But 217 is not super.
Look at this, Dwayne McBride taking 213 over Evan Hall. He didn't. I mean, he's on our practice squad. He could probably do something eventually. Fucking weird draft, man. Weird draft. Wow. Jalen Carter will. These guys will both be brick shit houses eventually. Luke Musgrave, I think, is probably the only starting rookie tight end.
Laporta's starting, and so is
No,
Kincaid.
he isn't.
He's starting, dude.
No, he isn't.
What does he have to do tomorrow for you to back off of that statement?
Nothing. He has to be in the starting lineup when tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow. Yeah, like their depth chart came out like 16 hours ago, and you're telling me it's wrong.
I'm telling you that every report that has been from training camp has said that he has ran with the ones and has basically solidified himself as Jared Goff's favorite target, and that he is by all recognition the tight end one. The only report that I heard was like
stroking, but sure.
I,
I was read
listen.
also that Brock Wright looked what he was last year, and then he's good. And I think hey man, I think he got the rookie down fever. Well, we're gonna find out tomorrow night. If Brock
Okay, well,
Wright,
I think he'll have.
if when
Is
they're
he gonna have
announcing
4
the
catches?
starters, they announce Brock Wright, you're gonna eat some crow, sir.
I could care less. Just like I could care less if Justin Watson is listed as a higher depth chart piece than Justin Ross. I could care less. Like I care.
Oh,
at
you
the end
don't
of the
care
season.
about depth charts. You just care about miracle projections and.
I care about fantasy points at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. So
we'll
week 1 doesn't matter then. I didn't say that he wasn't going to start eventually.
because I don't need to start my Justin Ross in week 1. I need to start in week 7 or 8. But
So you think the 5 rookies that they are not listing as starters will be starters 24 hours later?
I think that Sam Laporta will have at least 4 to 5 catches tomorrow for at least 40 to 50
That
yards.
doesn't make him a starter.
That's fine. He'll have more production.
Well,
than
my
Brock
point
Wright.
was the only guy who officially has the fucking starting job is Luke Musgrave. He's the only rookie who won a starting
I'm sure
job.
Dan Campbell. No way Dan Campbell's like they said that they're going to use Gibbs sparingly too. I mean, like, come on. Dan
Gibbs
Campbell's
number
about
2. This is my point. Gibbs is listed number 2 on the depth chart.
Okay. Yeah. Well, depth charts.
5 rookies that everyone says are starting are listed second on the depth chart. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the matchups of the week. Get into a little bit of team analyzation, not analyzation, but in your case, it is going to be analyzation, Ben, because I'm a 40-point favorite. I think, is that right? 40-point favorite. I honestly can't believe I'm only a 40-point favorite. This is probably going to come back to haunt me.
Let's make this segment quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not worried. I think I have a dominant versus yours. I think you have it was unfortunate that Kelsey is maybe a little hobbled. It could have given you a shot. Where I start to see separation is on the defensive side of the ball. And I just think that, I think my defense is about as solid as there is in the league. I just feel like, that's where I'm going to pull away from you. But anything can happen. I'm really interested to see how Daniel Hunter does. I invested a little bit into him this year.
His name is Daniil.
Daniil. I hope he gets 2 sacks for you and for me both on Sunday.
I own too much of them, but yes, you probably will.
I think you struggle. You just struggle at linebacker. I mean, I think McFadden. Obviously, you have 2 young guys though. Like if those guys pay off this year, and remain starters for years to come. Like that's a great basis. Your ends are great. Your safeties are better than mine, or comparable. So it really just the linebackers and maybe a few pieces on offense. But I don't think it's going to be more than a 30-point game. I think it'll be closer than we both, or than what the spread is. So
you just said you can't believe it's that close.
Yeah, I'm just trying to talk shit. I'm nervous, man. This is a big year for me. I'm being talked about as one of the top 5-6 teams in the league, and I don't want to slip an opening week. There's a ton of tough matchups. I am an 89% probability to win though, so that makes me feel good. So.
Well, Jahmyr Gibbs, they raised his projected. I hope that makes you happy, even though.
That's what it is.
Even though he was declared the backup.
Yeah, and Ridley was at like 6 points too. I couldn't figure out. Now he's up to 15 now. Yeah, okay. So I think what's the overall spread now?
I don't know. I didn't look.
Scroll up a little bit.
I don't know. Where do you see it?
Oh, I don't know. On the app, you can see what the predicted spread is in the score. Here, I'll look at it.
Dude, the projections of MFL are so trash. We shouldn't even be talking about it.
That's the only thing I base everything off of. I don't know why people don't
really?
do it. No, that's how I make
their stats from like the worst site ever.
Well, what's funny is that yours says projected points for Gibbs at 15:03, and on the MFL site on the app it says 12:05. So I don't know what to believe anymore.
I don't know. Enhance, refresh. Maybe they're changing it every second. Maybe
It could
Dan
be.
Campbell just announced that he's a starter, and then he's flip
I
flopping.
wonder who's predicted to score more points, Sam Laporta or Brock Wright.
Oh, probably pretty close.
Go down to my bench real quick. I just want to see something. How many points is Justin Ross predicted to score? 0. Yeah. Okay. I bet that doesn't happen. Anybody want to take that bet?
Wait,
all right.
what happened? Is that bad? He's not going to score any points?
No, he hasn't ever been predicted to score any points. He's predicted to score points in Yahoo leagues.
I think you have to be starting him for them to show the prediction.
No.
Yeah, you do.
So. Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a bunch of guys who are predicted for points, man. Okay. So do you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Just showing them
I don't think he was, even if we were in the app or whatever. So let's go look at Moose and let's Moose and fucking Lazy Bears. I think this is two supposed playoff teams. I think this one's going to be pretty close. I think this spread was within 20 points, and they're both predicted to score on the top 10 as far as total points. That's why I picked it as the game of the week. Plus, it's two supposed playoff teams. So, what do you think? What's going to be the key in this game? Oh, it's 194 to 187 as far as predicted points. So it's a 13-point spread with both of them being, supposed to score up close to 200. So, Javonte Williams for me and Swift, like that is a hell of a 3-back combo if they're all right. I mean, shit, that could go either way. Swift could get fucking 25 points or he could get 3. You just don't know. Same thing with Javonte. And then Hall, he's on a pitch count too. So Moose might have caught him on a good, on a good week. And then Mostert, who's pretty much the only back in freaking Miami right now, other than A-Chain, who's coming back off of shoulder shit. So I wouldn't want to go against those 4 wide receivers. If I were anybody in the league, that's by far the best 4 wide receivers in the league.
Yeah, I don't know if Zay Flowers is gonna like really jump off the tape right away. I mean, maybe will. We'll see. I don't know if he's gonna get that much run. He looks good though, so they're not gonna be able to keep him off the field. Regardless, if those 4 going ahead are better than any other team.
Well, he's got Garrett Wilson and Metcalf though too. Richie James is going to be the punt returner and kick returner, so he's going to get points there. The tight end matchup's pretty even, I would say. I would give the slight favor to the Negochu. The DNs. Njoku, thank you. Blah 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 on the DNs.
Dan Michael won the starting job, and we're going to see that he's going to have to put in work. He's going to have to tackle. Oh, the tackle. Well, yeah. Well, again, this is one of those DNs that get deep. Well, actually, I saw today we listed him at like nose tackle.
Peyton Turner. Wow.
But yeah, I think both these teams defensively are okay. I think
the linebackers are good.
Yeah, dude, the Jordan Brooks.
He's not going to play though. I don't think. I thought he's hurt.
He is. He wasn't supposed to play the first like 8 games of this season, and he took some of that like Adrian Peterson knee juice, and he's somehow now he might not be really good, and he might be on a pitch count, but like they're like he's 100%, he's good to go. So it's Bobby Wagner and him. If you invested in Devin Bush, sucks to be you. Unless he goes out and fucks himself up. But like I would have, of any injury of any player on both sides of the ball, I would have bet Jordan Brooks did not play week 1 for a lot of money. And the fact that he's doing it is crazy.
Yeah. I would anticipate him not. So that might even this out even a little bit more. It's going to be an interesting one. I don't know who I'm leaning on this matchup. I think because a lot of uncertainty in Lazy Bears running back room and how they're going to be utilized in week 1, I would trust the wide receiver over wide receivers of Moose to be the deciding factors. But I like LB's Lazy Bears linebackers a lot.
Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love that Moose has to start 3 cornerbacks. Who's on his bench? He doesn't have anyone else better than a cornerback.
Dane Belton.
No, he really doesn't. Wow. Okay, so Moose.
Oh, he has Tony. He has
Huh?
Tony to start. He could start Kadarius.
So he's deep. He's deep because like on his wide receivers are super deep. I think he's super deep on offense, but I think his defense, he's a couple injuries away. Well, you're always a couple injuries away from having new starters, but this is pretty shallow. When you're starting 3 corners, you kind of probably are heavy on the offensive end, like he is. But that being said, it's still a pretty good defense. It's better than most. And
can we talk about how we should be able to start 5 wide receivers in BC? I don't understand why we can't.
Why would you be able to start 5?
Well, because in all the other leagues, it's 3 to 5. I don't know. I mean,
well, the roster sizes would have to be bigger. That's why. So we have less starters. That's why.
Oh, okay. No, it's 22 starters.
No, it's 2, 3, and a flex. 2, 3, 1, and a flex.
Right. But we have 22 total, right?
Oh, in the other league, it's 2.
It's 3, 4, 3, 5, or 2, 3, 3, 5, 3 to 5, and then 1 or 2 for the tight end. Yeah.
So it's like
22 starters. I just don't know why there's only 4 wide receivers in BC and 5 in the other leagues.
Well, the ones you're talking about don't have either. One doesn't have a punter.
No. Thrones and both Thrones and CK, you can start 3 to 5 wide receivers.
Okay,
I've always wondered why.
I'll look at this, but there's the only reason that is because there's one more roster spot on offense.
Whatever reason is, you can't make a change until
it's a minimum. It's a minimum of 2 and a minimum of 1 tight end. So how would you get 5 if there's only 4 here? It's just like that's where we're at.
Yeah, they're both 2 to 3, 1 to 2, and then 3 to 5.
Yeah,
and the wide receivers. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So who you taking? I'm going to take Moose in this matchup, and I'm going to take myself in our matchup. Obviously, I'm going to take the 2 favorites.
I can't bet against Moose with that wide receiving core, man.
It's scary.
Diggs too. That's crazy. I'm happy with what I got from it. My haul from.
I mean, he could score. It's possible he could score 100 points just from his receivers in any given week.
Yeah, I mean,
that's quite possible. He might do that a couple times this year.
I also think Javonte is going to be on pitch count. Swift isn't going to get a full run until they decide who they really like. Neither is Hall. So you have to like Moose because the Bear. I mean, long term, like when this gets down the road, it could be a different story. Yeah. I just think I know. Those 3 running backs should be on account, and so that's where the tiebreaker is for me. These are 2 really good teams.
Yep, they are. They're both predicted to be in the top 10. So I get Moose week 2. So hopefully he has a lot of injuries and wins his game and loses a lot of players. So
Harrison Smith, son. Harrison Smith is going to have a year this year. I'm going to tell you.
He's like 40, right? He's like 45. I don't even know how he's still in the league.
No, he's 33, I think.
Seems old. Seems old.
You want to make a Harrison Smith bet right now?
No, I don't know anything about.
I don't give a fuck. You're talking shit about him being old. Let's make a bet, motherfucker.
Just saying he seems old. I feel like he's been in the league since I was like 15.
He's projected for more fucking points of safety than anyone you owned or have ever thought of owning. So it seems
there's the total points. There's the total points, 228 to 218.
10 points.
I wonder what our matchup is now. 228 to 218.
You want me to go back to satisfy your soul? Like
I do.
Marley? Yeah. You're
249 to 215.
34 point favorite.
Wow. Boy, those
I
points are a lot.
disagree with so many of these projections, but we don't need to waste our audience's time because you're clearly the favorite. So,
Wow, 249. Oh,
god damn.
that's
Now
like
I
that's
really hope for the league that I win. Jesus Christ. Keep flexing. Easy there, Georgia. Good God.
hey, my
Are
third
you
year in the
jerking
league, baby.
off under there, like while you're looking at this
I'm ready.
lineup? Is that why
I'm
you're
ready.
bouncing up and down? This is disgusting.
Built to last.
This is
I'm
a
built to
family
last.
show.
As long as Field
Holy
stays
hell.
healthy. All right, my man.
Penn does
That's
not
it.
agree with this. I'm telling you that right now.
That's it. You got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up? We're at our hour and 15 minutes. I feel like we covered a lot of shit. It's we'll definitely get some feedback from the boys and talk about we'll recap the week obviously next week, some surprises.
You want
Go
to
through
end
some
it right now?
well that's what that was on the list. I mean, we can talk about more stuff if you'd like.
It's not all that's on the list. I sent you 2 other things to add, but that's okay. We don't have to talk about them.
No.
I just spent my whole
No.
fucking day on them.
What?
But you just wanted to come out here and brag about your team and flex that you were going to win. That's the only reason
No,
we're doing this.
I thought that was it. Let's what go ahead, take it away, buddy.
Okay. Well, I even have written here, like, I guess.
Oh yeah. I didn't see this part, bud. Go ahead. Yeah, I want you to go. I missed it completely.
I don't need to. I could go to bed just as easy.
No, let's do it because you spent time on this. And I want to let you shine here. So 10 defensive battles. I'm looking forward to seeing week 1. That's an awesome segment. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It just happened to be because I don't know, I was note taking on our other shit and it kind of came up. I think I'll go as fast as I can so we don't make careers out of all this stuff. But number 1 is my homer, which is the Minnesota Vikings and how they lose the usage of the safeties and the linebackers. We kept 6 safeties. We kept 3 linebackers. We have 4, but it's really crazy because in practice we've used up to 4 safeties and 3 cornerbacks in formations. So we're gonna have like heavy DBs, very few linebackers or defensive line. There's like it's gonna be probably one of those things like the Patriots where you're gonna look at the percentages and just be like, I feel like I don't want to own any of these guys, except for Harrison Smith will probably never come off, and Danielle Hunter will get enough. But I mean, and I think Davenport will do well, but I think everyone else, you got to wait and see, specifically safeties, because Josh Metellus basically never came off. Bynum is playing. And then we have 3 cornerbacks who are going to play a ton. We're going to run 6 DBs probably like 50% of the time. And so how that works with snaps and who has real value is going to be interesting. I would also say that it's designed to do that, to confuse defenses and make turnovers. So I would predict we're going to be, I don't know how great of a defense we're going to be, but we're going to confuse not very good quarterbacks, maybe like Baker Mayfield. We might throw 5 picks. The number 2 is safety at Tampa Bay. Is like Neal came over there, and Winfield's been a top 5 safety. He's been a beast, but they moved him to free safety, and now Neal's strong safety. And the preseason snaps kind of looked like he's not playing up to the line. So there's a possibility that Neal is actually like a top 5 safety, and now Winfield isn't. So I kind of want to see how that works. It's just, it's counterintuitive to like how his talent level is. So maybe they're both really good. But there's, of everything on Tampa, I'd say that's probably the top that I'm. Number 3 was, I mentioned this in our draft, and it was just basically that, is there any other rookie on defense besides Will Anderson who steps up in week 1 and you're like, going to start from now on, right? And we say it could be Jack Campbell, but it could be injury, it could be this, it could be, Ivan Pace maybe looks like a lot, but I don't,
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, but even Jalen Carter's a rotation guy. Like I don't, but he may be so good. But I think that was, we already went over this, but the point is, it's like the rookies are so crazy that they're all kind of fringe that I don't think we're going to see a lot of action, but I'm excited to see if anybody
Yeah.
does have action. The Carolina Panthers moved to a 3-4, and that's interesting because Frankie Louvu played like this outside linebacker role on a 3-4 before, that is super successful because he could go in and rush the passer and he get a ton of tackles. And now he's playing more like an inside linebacker. He probably will rush. I don't know. I want to see if that like is out of his wheelhouse. Like I think if you see Frankie Louvu struggle like first couple games, you're gonna want to put some alarms up. And then if you own it on that same note, if you own any Jeremy Chin, like RIP, I'm sorry. Like Jeremy Chin, former top five, like untradeable safety, is now relegated to like a nickel role. He preseason he like played 50% of snaps on the first team. He's like he's a rotation guy, which is crazy because Jeremy Chin was 2 years ago, I think, like the
Hmm.
number one safety score. So I want to see if they're gonna get him to 100 and play three safeties. But if they do that, that again, that's going to be interesting on those linebackers. That means maybe Luvu plays less. So there's going to be some weird stuff with that. That's going to be interesting to watch, I think. Um, the number 5 is the Buffalo linebacker 2, which is now even crazier because, the Dotson won it competing with like Bernard, and beat writers were like, they're all great, they're all killing it. And then they brought in Christian Kirksey, and
Yeah.
he's like listed to compete with them. So I have no idea what's happening with that. That's the Tremaine Edwards spot. So it's like it's valuable, but it's super in the air. So I'm super interested to see that. The Micah McFadden role too looked like he won that and locked it up, and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden they traded for Jabril Peppers, right?
Mhm.
And Jabril Peppers is listed directly behind Micah McFadden. He was used like majority of his snaps at linebacker, mostly as a pass rushing linebacker. But maybe they'll just use him as like this, weird guy that's
Hybrid.
everywhere hybrid. But it's possible he just jumps in. They use him at linebacker. I don't know, but I'm gonna watch that for sure. And then I think the Devin Lloyd Chad Muma thing is something to be watched again. Like I really want Devin Lloyd to be 3 down linebacker and really step up, but I don't know. Like Chad Muma was really good again in preseason, again in camp. They can't find ways to get all three of those two and Alukum on there. So somebody's just either they're going to dilute the shares and it's going to really suck for Lloyd, or Lloyd's going to come out and get 100%, and then they'll find dabs for Muma in other places. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of Lloyd shares, but I think if Lloyd does get 100%, like he's gonna beast. But Muma's kind of screwing that up, so we'll see. And then I want to see if Franklin regresses, for Indianapolis when Shaquille Leonard comes back. Also, they're going to gear over to more 3 linebacker sets, which is going to get EJ Speed on there a lot more. And EJ Speed's like a legit linebacker. And so if you have a lot of people who can tackle, like I want to see how that dilutes. I know Franklin's numbers were super low when Shaquille Leonard was in his prime. I think he's might miss week 1, so it probably won't work for that. But he's another guy
Yeah, I
that's
might
like,
not ever. I might not ever forgive you for the Zaire Franklin call last year. That one that one set me back a little bit of when I had to scramble after you told me that he was going to suck ass moving forward. So I don't know if I can listen to your advice anymore. To be perfectly honest with you,
that's
even though
totally
you're the
fine.
MVP.
Why don't you go get
I'm
on
just kidding.
that Okariki fucking bandwagon over
I'm
in
just kidding.
I think that's what, to me, that's what I took out of it, was that Okariki was really bad. But I think Franklin earned it. I was wrong on that. That's fine. But
Yeah, I think I
I,
ended up selling
that's the other thing with the Giants is like
for about a half.
Kariki doesn't even have competition. They paid him, and like I don't think he's very good. So I
He's
think the
no
Giants.
Jalen Smith. He's no Jalen Smith, that's for
Well, he's
sure.
definitely better than Jaden Smith. I'll tell you that. And then we touched on this a little bit, but that DN2 in Detroit. So you have Houston had 8 sacks in the last 7 games, and that was his first games that he played. So he's like the pass rushing guy. They had what's his name? They had a guy go on IR. Oh, Akoa. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so now they have like Kaminsky, and like I said, like nobody's. I've seen him started different spots everywhere. Some are better at running, some are better at pass rushing. Is probably Houston, but that'll be really interesting because Houston, in theory, has like a pass rushing role that he could probably turn into a very good DN2 for all leagues. But I mean, I don't know. Last year he was playing 35% snaps and getting 2 sacks. So who knows? Like maybe he just plays situationally, but that's super interesting for me to watch because I have him in a couple spots. And then dude, we said this before. Is Jordan Brooks, this is number 10, is Jordan Brooks really healthy?
Right.
Because he's going to start week 1. They said he's going to start week 1. Like I have to see that. Like, is this a J.K. Dobbins thing where it's like he can walk, so we're gonna roll him out there even though he can't run? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is his recovery good enough? Like, I'm
Yeah. I,
I'm shocked that Jordan Brooks is playing. Just shocked.
yeah,
And
I didn't
I'm
expect that
going to
either.
pay attention to that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real reason for him to them to put him out there. I mean, they're a serious playoff team this year, I think. Like, I don't think that who do they play? The Rams. I mean, they should be able to handle the Rams, even though they're away, I believe, in Los Angeles. Rams will play them tougher than I think than what people expect. But fuck, man. So why rush him back if he's not healthy? I guess is my point. But
They wouldn't. I wouldn't think. They got Devin Bush. They could let him. I figured that worst. I mean, he'd be on the 4 game IR, but they're like,
yeah,
oh, nope, he's fine. He's fine. He's gonna play. He looks good. That's what everyone says. It's like, okay,
yeah,
that defies all logic.
yeah. Interesting that was on your list because we didn't even talk about that. So that's funny.
Hmm.
Um, what was the other thing that you wanted to go over, Ben?
Nothing really. We covered it mostly, and none of it matters that much. It was more about like my depth chart things that I noticed. But we kind of touched on enough of it that it's not really worth going over. Except for that Justin Ross was 7th on the depth chart.
Yep.
I did notice that. But I did want to take our first live question on the air from our Discord chat.
No.
Yeah, old Penn dropped us a couple.
Oh,
Probably
nice,
should have
nice.
done this a little sooner, but it'll probably be easy because we just did most of this. And his first question is, what is your upset pick of the week in BC? So I don't know who this is.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Matchup.
that's actually something we should probably throw in as a segment, right?
Yeah, that's a great recommendation.
I don't
Upset
know.
pick.
Let's see. Like,
Let me
is there
look.
a
I'll look.
way? Is there a way to determine it? Here, let's see what we got here.
Yeah. So let's see.
On your phone, you could probably see like who's the biggest upset. I think it's me, Penn. I'm the biggest
No,
upset. I don't think anyone's a bigger dog than
not
I am.
happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, right. I'm just trying to look at so Argo's a 50-point dog against Baltimore, who has a powerhouse. Well, I don't know. Any given Sunday,
I would say
Argo.
maybe it's the Georgia Warhorse over Prestige Worldwide. That's like a 25 point.
Oh, you're gonna give Georgia some credit.
Or you got to go Big Beefy Brutes over Hot Mess. That's another one to
Oh,
look
okay. We
at.
can get the percentages. Let's scroll. I can see the percentages at the top. Oh, here you go. Hot mess. The Triple B. Triple B's got a decent team. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, someone said he was bottom of 6, and that's silly. I mean, he's got people that can. hit
Brian
some points.
Burns came back to camp like this afternoon, so he's not holding out anymore. Yeah, dude, like Carl Larson. I don't understand.
I like this. I like this segment. Oh, Cooper Cup's not playing, so someone's got to take him out too. That'll reduce those points.
Oh yeah, man. If according to this probability, I would say it's got to be Big Beefy because yeah, Cup. Not only is Cup out, who does he have to replace Cup?
Not much.
Oh, he's got a couple tight ends. Yikes!
He doesn't have much.
God, he got
Yeah,
decimated.
that makes.
Huh?
I'm gonna go with Big Beefy Brad for the
Look at
upset of
this.
the week.
Look at this. He's just sitting with starting linebackers on his bench. Look at this guy.
I think Brad's a real competitor in this league. I think he's got some sort of
this is a good team, man. You know, hey, Jerick McKinnon, that'll get you 6 points or 45.
He's paid a lot of money for some of those guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. All right, Penn. I think Corey and I both agree that our upset of the week is going to be Big Beefy Brutus.
The other one would be Georgia and its dynamite team of sevens, because they're all going to score about 7 points on average. So if what 22 times 7, that's 144 points, something around there. So plus 14, so 156 points. That's what I think Georgia will score, 156 points.
I think Georgia is going to lose because his team's trash and he thinks it's good. He's still yapping in the chat. Hey, guess what, Georgia? I'm not answering any of your questions because if I were to, I'd have to bring up how stupid you think our trade was, and it's not worth everyone's time. And you shouldn't be spouting that shit up on the Discord unless you're trying to make non-participants.
Penn had some great questions. We'll have to take some of those for the next show. We'll ask people on Sunday to give us some segments, and we'll try to work them into the show. But at this point, brother, I got to call it quits. I got to get up to the wifey and watch a little bit of some trash television before I go to bed. And I'm excited. We might have to do an impromptu tomorrow night and just get on and talk a little football after the game.
I'll be at karaoke. I'll be running that damn karaoke.
Oh, shit, on a Thursday night?
Well, you know what? Got to make the money, baby.
Right
the
after
game's,
the football
game. The game's on there. No, it'll be during, actually.
Hey, so is it not possible for me to call in and do a virtual karaoke from the internet? I mean, I was trying hard to do that after draft day, and like I just got shut down. Like nobody would let me even chat through WhatsApp. It was pretty sad. Pretty sad. I was drunk by 8:30 and wanting to hang out with you guys and chat, and then nobody was there anymore. Just
a bar setting's too loud, man. What do you want? What do you want me to say?
I'm gonna have to fly in there on a helicopter next year. It's happening. Got to make the draft next year.
I think that checks out.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Love you doing this. Glad we're back at it. Good job. You did a great job on the IDP stuff as always. You're one of the best in the biz. Love you, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow, as always.
Yeah, man. Have a great one. Good luck, everyone, with their week, except for Georgia.
Anytime TD, Justin Ross. It's gonna hit.
Oh,
put your money on it. Bye.
A good one.